really add some interest. So it's like adding to that chicken maybe a little bit of prosciutto, a little bit of cheese. Oh, this is starting to taste pretty good. So it sounds like this. 1, 2, example 2. Okay, that's just basic songwriting right there. So it says scale tone, not of the chord, but the scale of the chord, equals active tone. They actively want to resolve, in this case, actively seek to be resolved to a chord tone and ultimately the root note. So that's our second level. And you can look at our pyramid, it says scale tones, and it takes up some of the portion of that. And then lastly, I have what's called outside tones. Example 3, not of the chord, nor the scale of the chord equals outside tone, equals aggressively seeks to be resolved. It's that 4 bend. So that's not part of the chord. It's not part just of the normal scale of the key we're in. It's outside both of those. And that's going to aggressively build dissonance and then resolve into a chord tone and then again ultimately to a root note. So our example here is, there's a lot of information here. If I play the lick example 3, yeah, that sounds really busy. So, or really bluesy, busy and bluesy. So you have the D and the F. The D is the 5th of the 1 chord, and the F is actually the flat 7th of the chord. Anything with a flat is going to be bluesy. So it's both a chord tone, but a little bit texture, a little bit bluesy. It wants to be resolved. Then it goes to D flat, which is the flat 5th. That's an outside tone that aggressively wants to resolve. Then it goes to C, which is a scale tone, then ultimately B flat, which is our 3rd, but lowered a little bit to be bluesy, right? So it's really bluesy, it's really dissonant. Then we get A, which is the 2nd scale degree. That's a scale tone, or what we call a passing tone, and ultimately goes to the root note. So we're using both our chord tones, our scale tones, and our outside tones to build interest in our music. But we need to mostly use chord tones, then use some scale tones, the notes in between, and then just a little bit of your outside tones. So what are the outside tones in cooking? Well, pick one of your favorite spices, something that's very strong, or a condiment that's very strong, but if you use too much, it will destroy the dish. If you use too many of the outside tones, those really bluesy notes, it's overly dissonant and someone won't want to listen to you. So we use mostly chord tones, that's why we're studying chord tones, with a decent amount of scale tones, basically to move us around and create interest. And then we have our outside tones that makes it really bluesy. And if we flip that model and use mostly outside tones, etc., it sounds really nasty. It's like you're playing the wrong key harmonica and the wrong upside down, you know. And if we use those equally, it also sounds awkward. So we need to have that hierarchy of the notes. That's why it's so important to understand where those notes match on the harmonica, especially the 4 chord and 5 chord, which are not as intuitive to us. So anyways, I hope this little explanation has helped you in your understanding.